my friends in the film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. You know, the 80s won't die on this channel. I will not let them, despite Jeremy's best efforts to suppress the greatest decade of entertainment ever. I will not let it happen. But neither will the 80s, or neither will the movie industry let the 80s die. We're going back. We got Top Gun sequel that came out and did well. Jurassic Park, 90s. They went back to that one. They've gone back to so much other stuff. Ghostbusters seems a logical fit for them to go back and bring it into the modern era. And they've done that a couple of years ago with Ghostbusters Afterlife. And, of course, just releasing this week, we've got Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Here to talk about it with me are our power couple here at the channel. My head of life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
Not a whole lot. I decided to kick up the 80s look. I mean, I got, the hair, I got the bandana this time. I still got the orange padded earphones, and I even decided to wear the glasses just like Bill Murray because I caught that. He's the mascot for the Chive, and it's just a picture of him with sunglasses. And I'm like, I see you, Bill. I see what you're doing. Also, as a co-founder and co-host of this particular show, Alex, I will not be having you slander my name all over the place, saying that I was the one who was late. It was in fact Frank. I was sitting here like a good boy, waiting in the chat for the link. So I'm glad you all had your fun taking bets, but you were who was it? Somebody was right. There's no tax, so that's okay. We can make do without him.
Yeah, technically speaking, this was my work's fault. I got caught at work way late and got home just in time to finish getting the stream together. But yes, it was definitely it was not Jeremy this time. It was 100% me.
I go this time like it's a common occurrence. Okay.
But
yeah, okay, you're welcome, Alex. I got you. Don't worry.
But luckily we have his better half here to kick us both in the ass and lend us some air of credibility.
He's my witness.
10 seconds filling in tonight to help give us your thoughts. What's going on?
Oh, just living my life, being here, the normal things.
Yeah, one of our two regular females that has a little bit of class, dignity, and charm to this channel, because God knows none of the guys, including me, are doing it.
We don't.
Just a little sprinkling.
Yeah, Tech's not here today. He got caught late at work. He also dealing with some work stuff, but how dare he go support his kids and make that paper to
try to make money out here.
Yeah, try to make that money. But we look forward to having him back on Tuesday for the DCEU retrospective.
Oh, that's right.
But let's get into it right now. Definitely an interesting movie to talk about from a couple of reasons. Talking about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This is the 2024 American supernatural comedy film directed by Gil Kenan from a screenplay he co-wrote with Jason Reitman. It is a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, which came out in 2021, and the fifth film in the Ghostbusters franchise. The film stars everybody that was on the last one: Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, all the other people. And, of course, the returning cast members of Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, and a special appearance by William Atherton. It made me very, very happy to see him in this movie. I still hate his character, even though I love him as an actor. Let's see. This takes place 2 years after the events of Afterlife. The veteran Ghostbusters must join forces with their new recruits to save the world in New York City from a death-chilling god who seeks to build a spectral army. Following the success of Afterlife, Sony Pictures announced the sequel in April. Co-writer and executive producer Kenan later took over as director from Reitman, but Reitman stayed as the producer and writer. With the same month, Rudd, Coon, Wolfhard, everybody announced they were coming back. I'm not going to bother reading all the names. They also added new cast members, including God, I always mispronounce his name. Not
Kumail Nanjiani.
Kumail Nanjiani. Nanjiani. It's the last name that I always screw up. I think I got it that time.
Yeah.
With Nanjiani being added, as well as
Patton Oswalt
again. Patton Oswalt, and I just lost where I was reading on my list, damn it. Nanjiani, Oswald, Lind, and Acaster, who were announced in March 2023. This is the first film in the Ghostbusters franchise to be released following the death of the franchise's co-creator and Jason Reitman's father, Ivan Reitman, who posthumously received a credit as producer alongside his son and Jason Bloomfield. The film was dedicated to Reitman's memory and celebrates the 40th anniversary of the first film. Frozen Empire had its world premiere at AMC 13 theaters in Lincoln Square in New York City on March 14th and was released in the United States on March 22nd by Sony Pictures. The film received mixed reviews from critics, but has grossed so far $68 million worldwide against the budget of just $100 million. That's not bad. On Rotten Tomatoes, 44% of 240 critics reviews are positive, with an average rating of 5.2 out of 10. The website's consensus review reads, quote, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire offers a certain amount of nostalgia-fueled fun for fans of the original, but a crowded cast and surprisingly serious tone prevents the sequel from truly sparkling. I get it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't know. I'll go to you first, Jay. Give me some of your quick thoughts on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
I'm typing the text. I'm a slow. Okay. You know what? I watched your short review of it too, and that's up there for anyone who wants to watch it. Frank did a short thing about this movie, and on the surface, I kind of agree with you. It's a different movie. It's a little different tone than the first one. I will say it is a little more comedic, which is not a bad thing. I mean, inherently, that's what Ghostbusters is. It's kind of a comedy, and there's some serious stuff in there, but I feel like it had a little bit more of a comedic tone, which is cool. I don't know if I would have called this Frozen Empire, maybe like Tepid Empire. I think that happened for about 5 minutes, and then I was like, oh well, that was over. Okay, that was fun. We had our very Jurassic Park. What was that? Dominion was the last one. I don't even know anymore. Where it's like, hey, look, there's the shot of everybody all at once looking at this instead of a big dinosaur. Now it's this. Well, admittedly, that is. I don't care that it was in the trailer, and I don't care that it was telegraphed as shit. Tall, dark, and horny was right there, and I'm like, okay, here we go. We're all gonna get in it. And I don't know why everyone says like, oh yeah, Bill Murray just looks like he doesn't care. I'm like, has he ever looked like he cared like since the 80s?
He's always looked like he doesn't.
Right. That's they cast him to be that, and he was that.
I'm like, have you watched a Bill Murray movie ever? That's what makes him funny, is because he is so deadpan.
Because he does not care.
I'm like, he looked like he had more fun in this movie. Like he was actually a little more, upbeat. I mean, yeah, he was like, all right, fuck it, we're taking a shot. I'm like, yeah, that's Bill Murray. So there was a little more of the, teen drama, which, I get it. It's like Phoebe wasn't of, technically legal age to be doing this. So I get it. It's kind of a bummer. I think somebody said, wasn't it Paul Rudd? Somebody said, oh, that's a bummer. But you know what? It gave way to the story that, don't trust or play chess with ghosts in the park, because they might ruin your day by putting New York into a deep freeze in the middle of summer. So it wasn't the best sequel, but I mean, it was a watchable movie, I suppose.
I don't know, Rachel, what do you think? Give me some of your quick thoughts before we dive into all the spoiler talk.
I think that it was, like you said, a good sequel to that first one. I thought that, first, whatever number of this new revelation, or whatever number we're calling this one, I don't actually know.
4.
4,
think, right?
Sure.
Because we didn't count 2016. We got 1,
right,
2.
that movie. What movie in 2016? There wasn't a movie in 2016.
Yeah. There were no Ghostbusters in 2016.
No Ghostbusters in 2016. I'd never even watched that.
There was no Indiana Jones in 2008 either. We don't talk about that.
Also true. But I did enjoy the movie as a whole, but it felt like it was, I don't know, it was lacking something. I can't quite point it out, but it was missing a little bit of depth, I think, to, if we're going to carry on with these characters, there needs to be a little bit of character development. And I don't feel like there was like a lot. There was definitely character development for Phoebe, but that's it. Everybody else was stoic and nothing changed. And I feel like, I don't know, for me to have a connection with a movie, there has to be dynamic personality changes. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that far off from you guys. And honestly, I mean, having talked to Jeremy about this the other day with text, I feel like I like the movie more than you guys, but I don't feel like I'm that far off from the way you guys feel. There were times where it caught. There were times
I enjoyed it, but
it caught a little bit of the Ghostbusters magic at several points, but it couldn't maintain it the way that I felt Afterlife did for the majority of the film. Like first two films, great. Yeah. I mean, I like the second Ghostbusters a lot more than a lot of people do. I know a lot of people shit on that movie. I actually think it was pretty good. Afterlife found a lot. Obviously, they were writing the nostalgia out a lot. They made it a big love letter to Harold Ramis, like I said, which really hit you at the emotional level. But it was still, at its core, it was a good Ghostbusters movie. This movie, it got really close to hitting that same magical zone. It just never quite got there. There were a couple of scenes that were really good, and I felt that Ghostbusters nostalgia really getting me. But for the most part, I feel like this movie just didn't quite get there. There were some things about the characters themselves I didn't like. The only new characters they added in, I mean, Patton Oswalt, he's got one scene. He's great because he's Patton Oswalt. Yeah. And some of the other people they added in were good, but it's like you have the same cast here. You didn't have to try too hard. Just give them good material good dialogue to deliver. Let them fight ghosts, and that's kind of that's all you really have to do right. The rest of it's all just whipped cream and toppings and sundae. and there were times where they kind of missed on a bit of that. There were some jokes that I was just like, I feel like they're a bit hot, a bit heavy. Like the whole like grandma's sex dungeon thing. I was like, it's funny, but it's like, I don't know that. I mean, it would have been funnier coming from Bill Murray instead of coming from that one girl whose name I forget because she really has no point in this movie.
Was it Lucky?
Yeah, Lucky. That's the one.
Lucky.
Yeah, she doesn't do nearly as much in this movie as she did in the last one. I was like, if you're going to bring her all the way here to New York, make her significant. You know, she's kind of a background player.
I was going to say with her, like, what was the teenagerification of her character?
I have no idea.
What was that? Like the way she talked was very like somebody making a TikTok about another teenager. If that makes sense. Like, you know how grown adults make TikToks where they're acting like they're teenagers and they're just a little off because they're like older millennials and they're not quite fully with the Gen Z stuff right now.
I don't need you to be attacking me right now.
You're not an older millennial. I'm not either.
I feel like one though, Jesus.
Second of all, I'm just saying like they're not quite with the lingo, but they almost have it right. That's what I felt like her whole character embodied for some reason. Like I felt like the way she talked was very buzzwordy.
And like
I don't know.
I feel like if you were gonna put Lucky in that like research facility with I don't even remember the English dude's name because I'm just like he looks like the guy from Real Ghostbusters. He's got the blonde hair, the glasses, and the correct jumpsuit color. I'm like, I think you're Harold Ramis. I don't remember which one you are. I'm like, I think that's a joke about the Real Ghostbusters, which I'm here for.
There was a lot of stuff that was callback to the Real Ghostbusters in this.
Yeah. But I'm like, if you're going to have her as like one of these research people, I'm like, was that her whole thing? What's, I don't know. They just kind of,
right. Why is she here?
Trevor. Hey, Lucky. Okay, cool. Because
there's no development between them either.
Yeah, like Stranger Things kid just kind of was there. I think he was just kind of useless. He got slimed. I guess this little side quest with Slimer was kind of funny, but I'm like, you kind of let it happen twice, my guy. You had him posted up, and I'm like, how'd he still get away from you? Come on.
Because he's not a very good Ghostbuster, apparently. But
you're a better Ghostbuster in Stranger Things. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah, let's dig into the first question. I want to talk about this real quick. I don't think there's a whole lot to say about it because he's still a very young director. But I mean, going from Jason Reitman to Gil Kenan, a lot was made about going to Gil Kenan and it's not being Jason Reitman. Is it going to be bad? Whatever. Does this mean that Jason Reitman, he doesn't even think this movie is going to be good, so he wants to walk away from it a bit? Not at all. I think this is somebody that has been around the Ghostbusters thing for a while. Him and Jason Reitman go way back. He was a producer on Afterlife. He's worked with Reitman a bunch. I feel like he did an okay job. Rachel, do you think that the change in director really altered what this movie could have been that much, or was it much ado about nothing?
I don't think it altered it too much necessarily, but I think that there was some loss of depth between this movie and the last one. There was definitely a loss of depth to character, kind of like I said before. But I also think it was, in a way, also more lighthearted to watch than the last one. I don't know. That's just kind of the way I look at them as different movies by different directors.
It's like, hey, pretty lights. They did the thing. Like, okay.
Yeah, what do you think, Jay? I mean, the switch of directors, did it matter?
I can't take credit for this, I guess, kind of review comparison. Somebody made a point that the previous movie, Afterlife, kind of, it had its comedic tones, but it was a little more serious. And it was kind of, he's described it as like Spielbergian. It was a little more, kind of a little more meat on its bones. And it was, you were excited for watching the Ecto 1, do fucking drifting around like it doesn't weigh like fucking 3 tons through this bumfuck town nowhere, and Phoebe just whipping out in this gunner seat and just chasing down this ghost.
That was cool.
I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And not to say that, like that. Even not to say that it isn't cool in New York City. That's what we want. That's Ghostbusters and New York go hand in hand. Just I don't know. It just kind of was like there was less of. I don't know. It kind of felt a little less like a Ghostbusters movie to me, because it was like it's that the surrounding that now it's like heavily into this like teenage angst and like family drama, because we get it, like Paul Rudd's the new guy, kind of stepdad, and I know we had that arc and it was kind of adorable hearing Phoebe call him dad at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice. She got there after having been possessed and all that. That's what it takes sometimes. Some light possession. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I called it tepid Empire because I'm like, yeah, it kind of just happened in the last like 10 minutes of the movie.
That's true.
And I think the only thing I think I was upset about that I'm like, I think we mentioned, I think Frank knows what I'm saying now, is when they're like, go change up their equipment. I'm like, they kind of did. Now we can say it. I'm like, Phoebe did that thing where she dipped the pack in like copper to try
brass.
Yeah, they shipped all the copper out of there in the 90s. Thanks, Janine, for giving us that tidbit. And that's where I was going with Janine. I'm like, Janine had like a fucking wrist-mounted like proton thing on her arm. I was like, oh my god, that's badass. I want to see her use it. And I was like, wait, did she? What happened? They all just kind of sit in a line and firing squad at this, this ghost. I guess. I don't know. It didn't seem like there was enough build up to that's your subtitle of your movie, and it just kind of happened in the last 5 minutes. It kind of felt like Jason Goes to Manhattan to tie in New York. I'm like, he went to Manhattan for the last fucking 5 minutes of the movie. I'm like, okay.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Well, this is a journey about 40 years in the making. I'm like, what? Come on. I don't know. I feel like if the I don't mind the setup. I don't, because like I said, Patton Oswalt, hilarious guy. I love the explanation of the ghost, the big bad that we're trying to get here. And I didn't mind that we had more Ray in this movie. We all love Ray. He is the heart of the Ghostbusters, as has been said by Bill Murray. So I like that he was a little more involved, and he was kind of like on his own little path there with like Phoebe and podcast, which also I love when movies do this. There was like 3 years removed, and I'm like, is that podcast? You were a short, squeaky, chubby little kid. All of a sudden, now he's like 6 foot, like he's like, hey, we're gonna go get some ghosts. I'm like, Jesus, kid, it hit you like a ton of bricks.
It did. God. I also questioned it at first. I was like, is that the same child?
Is that the same podcast?
I did think it was funny because I watched all the first 3 films, Ghostbusters 1, 2, and Afterlife, all over the course of like last 5 or 6 days. And I was watching it, and I was like, good God, yesterday you were in junior high or some shit in the movie. I was like,
right.
And now you look like you're 18 and you're like, whatever, getting ready to graduate high school. I forgot in my head that there was a time between that movie and this one.
This is the thing with like Finn Wolfhard. Like I said, when it's a shock when you watch like season 1 of Stranger Things, and I'm like, you are like a fetus. And then all of a sudden now, again, you're like 6 foot lanky and you look like a teenager. And it's like, you're not
looking like a
you're
newborn gazelle.
Like you're still awkward as hell, but you're still getting your legs. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind the all of a sudden the Ecto-1 getting possessed and the movie turned into Christine for about 5 seconds.
That was funny.
Like the tone.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The lights turned red and the
I couldn't find a picture of the headlights when they turned red. This is the closest I could find. But that was really cool. I thought of that too. I was like, Christine, that's great.
Like, just trust me. Like the headlights turned red and it turned like a deeper I was like, oh shit. And then it backed up on all of them. I was like, okay, that was pretty damn cool. I kind of like that little ghost being featured. This little possessor ghost that just like possesses any inanimate object, and he moves at the speed of like Mach fuck, and you can't catch it. I'm like, that's so funny. I don't know. It was fun, like I said, but I kind of get the like it was something missing. I'm like, yeah, we did the thing in the last 5 minutes, and we. Although I guess I can't really say. I guess the first movie was that way. You had Gozer in the last scene, and then you dealt with that pretty quick, and then the Marshmallow Man. But I don't know. I will say I think the thing we can all collectively say is I don't know why we now suddenly have like borderline superheroes now. Like he's just a freaking firebender. I'm like, okay, whoa, look. And I don't come at me saying like, well, if you're going to accept Ghost, I'm like, I can accept Ghost. I can accept movie BS science of particle like nuclear accelerators, but I'm not going to have you sit here and tell me this dude just ninjutsu'd a fucking fire flame into this ghost and that was it. And I'm like, no, don't introduce overpowered dumb things at this point in the game. Like that was supposed to be there thousands of years ago. I'm like, no. That was like too goofy even for Ghostbusters, and I didn't. And I don't you don't like him as an actor. I'm like, I actually think he's kind of funny. He is the same guy in everything.
He's the same guy in everything he does. That's why I don't like him.
But again, I will reiterate. So is Bill Murray. But
yeah,
I'm not the biggest fan of Bill Murray either.
Okay,
to be fair.
I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Well, again, so is Finn Wolfhard. So whatever, we'll keep going.
Yeah. I can accept ghosts and firebenders. What I can't accept is an entire closet made of brass in a New York City apartment. I refuse. That's not a thing.
Well, no, wait a minute. We had a whole selenium apartment complex. No. David's apartment was made of the bullshit metal that conducted the alien.
There was way more selenium than there in the first movie than there was brass in this one. To be fair,
that's fair. That's fair. But a whole room of brass in an apartment, the whole building being made out of the material, sure. But that apartment was way too big for anything in New York City.
I'll just keep,
especially for
Bill
a
Murray.
Reseller. A reseller, maintaining that, absolutely not.
Yeah, that would have been a $5,000 or $6,000 a month apartment. There's no way that guy's maintaining that.
Like Bill Murray said, I guess they just don't make them like they used to.
Firebenders, I draw the line at your unrealistic expectations for New York City apartments. That's where I draw the line. I'm
drawing the line in an Indian firebender. I was like, that.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. I was like, so this guy is an avatar?
Right.
And there you go. There is my line for tonight. And then the Fire Nation attack. I was like, okay, here we go.
When I was watching this yesterday, I was kind of thinking to myself, because the third act is really good. The first and second acts kind of middled. There were times where it started to get a little bit of steam, and then it would peter out. It would get a little steam and peter out, and I'm like, "You're not quite getting me there." Third act good, first two acts not so great. Mm-hmm. But I felt like at times that maybe Gil Kenan wanted to do a couple of different things to put his own stamp on it to kind of plus things a little bit. But maybe he, and I'm not speaking for him. I'm trying not to anyway. But maybe he's just kind of thinking, "But I've got a Reitman over my shoulder, and if this would have been just some studio, pencil dick asshole who doesn't know anything about being creative, I would just do it and be creative. But I've got like the Godfather's son of the Ghostbusters franchise here, so maybe somebody who was actually in Ghostbusters 2 and has been around this franchise literally his entire life. So maybe he didn't want to stray too much off the path that has already been kind of cut. He didn't want to kind of go blaze a little bit of his own at times in the movie. I thought maybe that kind of would have had an effect on it. I can't say that I wouldn't be equally as apprehensive to get to to get too overly creative and try to do my own thing if I had that guy standing over my shoulder. But I don't know. Like I said, there were times that it just kind of missed to me, and I don't know if it was necessarily Gil Kenan's fault. I just think that maybe it was just the story, the way it all worked, the way it all came together, just didn't quite get there for me. Third act did. First two acts, not so much. But I mean, let's talk real quick about the cast. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. I mean, it's basically the same cast from the last movie, but with a few additions. I'll go to you first, Rachel. Was there somebody from this cast that stood out from either the three newer people that had any significant screen time, or maybe the returning cast from the last film?
I really liked the guy who played the scientist, the blonde guy there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I liked him quite a bit. I liked his character. I thought it was funny how him and Phoebe kind of clicked. Similar thought patterns.
Yeah, they're both nerds, yes.
yeah, just very similar thought patterns. I thought that his character was a good addition. I mean, I think it made sense to explain, like, they're doing all this science stuff, and of course, who would be doing science stuff for Ghost if not, a guy who's like this? I don't know. I think that was a good role to have in this movie, and I thought he played it very well. I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately, off the top of my head.
What is his name? I believe it is James Acaster.
Okay.
Him. I think that's his name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's his name.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jay, what about you? Again, returning most of the cast from the last film, a couple of small additions. Who stood out to you the most? Was it one of the returning cast members or one of these new people?
Well, like I said, if you keep that picture up for just a hot second, I don't know. Is that like Wish.com Taylor Lautner, or is that podcast? It's still freaking me the fuck out. I don't.
He does have a bit of a Taylor Lautner look going on right there.
Yeah, like all of a sudden he just lost all his little like cute kid chub, and now all of a sudden he's like, I don't know. I don't know how tall Dan Aykroyd is, but he's probably like 6 foot. And I'm just saying it's freaking me out, kid. Let's see. Yes, thank you. I know we're all trying to figure out who the hell I look like in the comments. Jesus Christ.
Just speculating.
I know. Look, I've never had that one. I've had Tom Hiddleston. I've had Nicolas Cage once. Keanu Reeves is one I get a lot. I get
Nicolas Cage.
One person in high school said it looked like
Look,
Nicolas
we're
Cage.
Gonna get completely derailed if we talk about this.
I'm just saying.
Keep my thoughts. I'm gonna keep my Nicolas Cage thoughts to myself.
That's just a general statement of life, I think. Just old kill a fish right there. What was the? Oh, who do I? You know what? I agree. I do like the new guy who's the scientist. I like that whole. See, I don't know if I could necessarily say a character because it is kind of mostly the same people except for a few additions like him. I will say I like the addition of that that whole like research facility they had, because what we said is like I want to see Winston being like, again, he's their Nick Fury, he's their Bruce Wayne, their benefactor, right? So it kind of made sense that he's like, oh yeah, well, why wouldn't we do something like this? I'm like, that's kind of fair. I mean, if you branch out and think like, oh, we have all these other things that are they have spirits in them or they're possessed in some way, and we're like needing to extract this and maybe research this and learn more from it, because I mean, why wouldn't you? And I was like, I think that whole setup was actually kind of cool, that now that their one trap, their ghost containment unit in the firehouse in New York is kind of on the fritz, so kind of makes sense. And again, Janine hitting us with the good one-liner. She's like, yeah, it was the 80s. Nobody was really thinking about the future. I'm like, God, I wasn't even there, but man,
that was so
still
real.
Hit.
That was such a real line.
I almost didn't even laugh at that line. I was like, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you were there. Yep. I was like,
yeah.
Trust me.
Don't worry, we just all have to suffer the consequences of your generation.
Yeah, now you do. Thanks, Frank, for fucking.
Thanks, Frank.
The 80s were so great. Yeah, for you.
You're so great, and now everything sucks.
And now it all sucks. No, it was great until it wasn't. Thanks, Reagan. I don't know.
That too.
That was the line, I think, from the last movie where he says like, oh yeah, times were good. The Reagan years. I'm like, okay, Ray, come on. It happened, man. I don't know if there was a question. I think, yeah, I like the research center. I like the research center. I really do. And I guess if like I said, I'll go with the little possession ghost because that thing was kind of hysterical. Or if you want a person, Patton Oswalt, because I think he's funny.
Yeah, for me, I like the look. There's two characters that I was just like, why are you here? Again, with podcast, I don't he has less of a purpose in this movie than he had in the last one, and I didn't think he had a big purpose in the last movie. I thought he was just kind of there. The other one is like the girl. Lucky. What is she here for? It's like,
why are they both?
I don't know.
At least
they were in the last movie, so I guess they got to be here. I don't
at
know.
least
signed on for 2, and they just had to throw them in there.
Well, the problem is you do have such a. It is having the problem of like having such a big cast. I'm like, now you got to have everybody have something to do, and I'm like, some people are going to get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, but the reality is, it's like if you were doing a Ghostbusters movie and you didn't want to bring Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray or one of these guys back, that would stand out. But you could do a Ghostbusters movie and not bring back Podcast or Lucky. Nobody's going to miss them. It's like the 12-year-olds that the only Ghostbusters they know is Afterlife, who have probably never even seen, the younger kids who probably never even seen the originals. They might be a little upset, but that's like 5 people. I mean, you've got a dedicated fan base in here that is not going to miss either one of those two characters. Why are they here? I don't get it. The other thing, look, I wax poetically about Mckenna Grace. I think she's fantastic for being 17 years old. I think she carried the last movie very, very well. I don't think she carried this movie very well, but I don't think it was necessarily her fault. I hated her character arc for this entire movie.
Phoebe?
Phoebe. There was something about her character arc in this film specifically that I didn't really jive with because it's like, I got that she was, look, she's in the movie, she's
coming of
15.
Age.
Yeah, she's 15, and I understand, and especially with Rachel here, I would never pretend to know.
We
exactly
weren't
what it's
15-year-old
like
girls. So.
Yeah, to be a teenage girl, but I've known teenage girls for a long time now, and I
suggested 0 out of 5 stars.
Yeah,
would not recommend.
And I understand that under the most benign circumstances, like everything's running great for you, that being a 15-year-old girl can just be hell on some girls. It cannot be a fun ride. Now you add in the fact that she's 3 feet smarter than everybody else in this movie, including Renee. She's so much smarter. I thought that to her there would be a certain objectivity that would make her kind of see through some of the puberty stumbling blocks that she trips all over the course of this movie. What did she say? What did she say in the first movie? Being overstimulated calms me.
Oh, yeah.
It's like in this movie, she's overstimulated for this whole damn movie, and she pretty much falls apart. She's struggling to get through one scene to the next as a character. And I'm like, that's not the Phoebe that you gave me, that you introduced me to and told me that she was in the last movie. No, I'm not saying that she shouldn't deal with the things that 50-year-old girls deal with. But, I mean, the whole, like, it was borderline her extracting her spirit from her body was like a borderline suicide thing to me. And I was watching that, and I was like, I don't know if this is like, I patently refused to watch that one Netflix show. What was it? You'll know what I'm talking about, Rachel. When a girl kills herself.
13 Reasons Why.
That's the one.
I also refuse to watch that.
I patently refuse to even go near that show because I just the plot alone seems to promote teenage suicide to me. That was not good. And I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, this walks that line, doesn't quite get to that point, but you're on that line. Because I really thought for a minute that's kind of where she was going with all this. Like eventually she was going to injure herself to the point because she wanted to be a ghost to escape being the 15-year-old girl in the world today. And I'm like, that's setting a pretty tough precedence. That's not a good look. Now, the way they did it, they didn't quite cross that line, but I was like, man, that's real close.
They got real close. I agree. They got close.
She technically died, I think.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't because when that whole thing happens and
she had an out of body experience.
The frost. I think that's how they ended up presenting it was as an out of body experience rather than her spirit. Her body dies, her spirit leaves for a minute, or her spirit leaves, just kind of leaves the body there. I don't know how they want to do it. They kind of presented it like an out of body experience, even though that's kind of what it was. She was a ghost, and generally to turn into a ghost, you have to die. So they were right on that line, and I was just like, that's kind of pushing it. That doesn't seem to me like something that someone like her who is super smart is going to be dumb enough to do. It just wasn't. It wasn't a good character arc for me.
I want to say the thing that like the mom and Paul Rudd kept saying was like, make mistakes, do dumb things. I'm like, yeah,
that's not her though.
But however, I'm like, yeah, she feels like a completely different character and like not in a good way. Like we were saying, like with a character arc, I'm like, all of a sudden now she just has every emotion. She's outbursting, and I get it. That's her roadblock is that I'm like, yeah, you're not a legal adult. So I get it. She has this thing that she has to overcome, which you can't because it's a time constraint. And like Paul Rudd's trying to tell her, like, oh, look, it doesn't. I mean, it's gonna be fine. Like I know it seems like a lot, and that's how you would, you'd tell a teenager. I'm like, I know it's gonna seem like a lot, but trust me, when you get to be like, Paul Rudd's age, you're gonna be like, yeah,
Not to diminish the fact that those feelings, I don't think personally, being previously a teenage girl myself. The feelings you have at 15 are the harshest feelings you ever have.
The most extreme. I'm
the most intense, the most extreme, and you are the most ill-prepared to handle them at that age.
Pretty irrational, I'd imagine.
Putting on top of it, I assume, I'm not going to speak for everybody else. I assume that Phoebe is autism coded. She has autism.
She's definitely autistic.
That's my thought. And my thought is, not only are you autistic and you're also a teenage girl, and you add the autism on top of the emotional, being able to handle your emotions, and people with autism quite frequently not being able to handle that as well, that outcome isn't necessarily wrong per se. I agree with it went too far, almost went too far with the temporary suicide thing. Because that could be akin to literally anything else that you're using as escapism for your life. But I agree that her character did seem to fall off from the previous movie. She definitely isn't as confident. She isn't, But I think that Paul Rudd handled the situation fine, and I think that her mom absolutely dropped the ball. I don't like her character at all.
I didn't want to say it the last stream.
No, she dropped it.
No. What I mean is, like, I said I liked the character, and Frank was like, I didn't like that character, and he's like, I like the mom. I was like, I don't want to sound like an asshole because I'm like, I don't like the mom, and I still don't.
I didn't like her then. I don't like her now.
I liked her more in the first movie than I did the last. In the first movie, it's like, yeah, she's a bad mom.
Right.
Like it's like sometimes. Well, not saying she doesn't love her kids, but some people just aren't good at parenting. They love their kids a lot, but they're just not very good at parenting. And that was kind of
Phoebe. Yeah,
that was the kind of thing I got. Well, and that's the other thing. It's like when you're a regular person and you have somebody who's got an IQ of 750,000 like Phoebe.
Yeah.
Then it's really hard to kind of connect right here. It's not like you can just sit there and do makeup and watch, like goofy romance shows and connect with your teenage daughter. It's like she's a very normal person she's a single mom struggling to get through. She emotionally just cannot get on the same level with Phoebe, who is, like I said, her IQ's off the chart. She's doing advanced physics and quantum blah 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 when she's 13, 14 years old. Right. Yeah. And this lady's over here just trying to figure out how to pay rent. I mean, she's not there. So it's hard enough to connect. But it's like in this movie, I was like, I'm like, this bitch needs to go away. It's like
I don't think she had an arc at all. She was worse.
I'm gonna take these five kids at this point.
She got worse. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. Oh, I'm gonna get mad at my daughter because she yelled at me. She yelled the truth at you. She yelled.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
You know what though? That line hit hard when she looks at her. She goes, "If you weren't a Spengler, you'd be answering the phones." And I was like, "Damn,
she's right."
She's
right.
Yeah,
she's right.
You're gonna get mad
she's right.
Someone whose entire story in the first movie was like, fuck my dad, I hate my dad, he didn't love me, and then you got humbled real fucking quick when you realized what he was actually doing, and you're like, oh no, he did like me, he had pictures of me.
Oh, my legacy now all of a sudden.
I'm like, oh, now you
care
kind of
10 minutes ago.
I'm like, I understand that kind of, I mean, it might be a perception thing where I'm like, yeah, you don't really understand the scope of it. And maybe it was better for you to not know, but like, I get it. And like I said, that was the risk that Egon took. That he's like, look, I'm gonna end up alienating my friends, my closest friends who I was in this business with, and my own family. And I'm sure that wasn't easy for him either. But I'm just like, damn. But now all of a sudden, why do you get to ride shotgun in the car? That's kind of a bug me. Why do you get to ride shotgun? You should be back there with podcasts, like throwing the fucking traps out. Like, screw you, lady.
But one of the things I did like though is it was not very well paced, but Paul Rudd's growth into a fatherly figure,
trying to figure it out
very suddenly in the third act. I would like to have seen that happen more gradually. Like both him and Phoebe kind of, they obviously started at different ends of the spectrum. I would like to have seen them gradually kind of find their way to each other. It happens very suddenly in the third act, and that kind of annoyed me because I was like, because Paul Rudd's a pretty good actor. I mean, I've said 100 times that one of the best acting jobs that he's done is Clueless. It's part dramatic and part comedy, and a lot of people don't realize just how good he is in that. And he's like 12 years old in that movie or some shit,
right?
But
he has an age sense.
But that was actually really good acting by him in that movie. And yeah, he's great in Anchorman. He's great in 40-Year-Old Virgin. The comedic stuff is great, but he can actually throw some dialogue around and he can act. And I feel like they kind of didn't use him quite right. They should have let him and Phoebe have some moments, like that conversation that that he thinks he's having with her as he's standing at her door. It's like that would have been a really cool conversation for them to actually have. Like have her on the other side of the door hearing it, maybe not reacting, just hearing it. That could have been a big part to kind of bridge that gap, and it would have been something that connects them. You don't really see the connection until the very end when she slips and calls him dad. It's like, well, it's kind of sudden. I didn't really get to experience that growth as a viewer, that connection as a viewer grow and strengthen. So it's kind of like, Anakin and Padme falling in love in the prequels. It was like 1 minute she's just like, dude, you're just a little kid, go away. And like literally 5 minutes of screen time later, she's like, oh my God, I'm in love with you. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? where did that happen? It was kind of like that. We didn't get to see that relationship grow a little bit. And that father-daughter relationship would have been fun to have seen grow.
I like that he was at least trying. I mean, like he even tried to be like, what's wrong with my pack? Hey, Phoebe, can you come help me? And she's like, dude, it's literally just not plugged in. And it's like they both kind of knew.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, like, I'm sorry, like I'm trying, all right, like, know. Yeah, he tries to at least level with her. I mean, honestly, I think he leveled with her more than her own.
Tries a lot harder than her mom. Her mom does not care.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I kind of, like I said, I can give her the thing where I'm like, I don't feel like she probably understands how to handle somebody like that, like Phoebe, but I'm like, could you at least try?
Could you try? Know. That's your daughter. Like,
I think it would have been better if they would have, instead of trying to bridge some kind of relationship between Phoebe and Paul Rudd's character, if they would have tried to have done something to improve the mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they did that a little bit in Afterlife. Like, obviously, at the beginning of the movie, they're just in different spots in the universe. They're not even anywhere close to each other. But by the end of the movie, it's like they both kind of had this coming to Jesus moment. They see, her father, her grandfather there. There's this moment where it all kind of connects, and they end the movie kind of, in each other's arms, and it worked. But there wasn't any focus specifically on their relationship. It was just a situation. This movie, you had a chance to really bring that relationship to the forefront and let that be a big driving part, because you didn't have the emotional stuff of Harold Ramis to fall back on in this movie like you did in Afterlife. So you should. I feel like that what I would have done anyway is I would have let the emotion of this mother-daughter relationship that is struggling but is going to eventually kind of come together. Let that be the emotional stuff that drives that part of the movie. And then somewhere in there, you go bust some ghosts. You deal with Walter Peck. You deal with all this other stuff. So let that be the background stuff to this other emotional story. I think that would have gone a lot better.
I think, and like I said, I think a little more of the actual threat of the ghost, because I'm like, it kind of just happened for about 5 minutes and then went away. I was like, if you would have actually
drag that out a little more,
you could have had like an Empire Strikes Back. You could have had like him coming in a little sooner, and then them dealing with this frozen wasteland and being like, okay, if he's supposed to be this powerful of a ghost, he shouldn't have just been able to, I thought it was hysterical that they at least gave him like he found some store called like Fire Starter or whatever the fuck. And he's like, are you a fire starter? He's like,
Fire
yeah,
Master.
Man. Or Fire Master. Like, yeah, man, read the sign. Like, what's your deal? And just kills him. I was like, oh, that poor guy.
That was funny.
The poor guy with the smoke shop. Like
yeah, I was gonna say it was a smoke shop, wasn't it? That was funny.
Yeah, it was like a smoke shop. That poor guy didn't even.
Yeah, I was reminded of Terminator, when Terminator's just going through and looking at all the Sarah Connors in the phone book, he's just whacking them all one by one.
Every single Sarah Connor, yeah.
Like everybody who calls himself the fire starter is just gonna get killed in New York until he finds the right one. I was like, okay, that's an inefficient way of doing things.
But like I said, there wasn't really any. If you're gonna call it a frozen empire, I'm like, yeah, I feel like he should have been on that throne a little longer.
Should have been frozen for at least some of the movie.
Yeah, and then and you could even time jump it a little bit, like have them a few months out still trying to fucking deal with this. It's like, because I like the point of that their streams didn't do anything to it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is the first one we've had where he just like grabs the streams and just like freezes them and they fall to the ground. I was like, that's insane. So you got to switch your game up, guys. Like you got to really think around this, and it just kind of happened. So I'm like, well, that was fun, I guess. You know what? He kind of got snoked, like from The Last Jedi. He was there for about 5 minutes and then just cut in half. I'm like, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Done. As to quote another YouTuber, it was super easy, barely an inconvenience.
I haven't watched the pitch meeting on Frozen Empire yet.
He did one for the original Ghostbusters, but if he's done one for this, I definitely want to see it. Yeah, shout out to pitch meeting. That's become one of my little like stupid ticks of a phrase. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean BJ even says it. I mean, it's like the scene where she's on the phone. It's what bothers me most. Pay attention to your kid. It's like, yeah. I mean, Carrie Coon's character seems so disengaged from like everything. Yeah. It's like she wasn't even in on the Ghostbusting. She was just back. She was almost as useless as podcast and what's her name, the other girl. Lucky. He's almost as useless as them in this movie.
Like, and even Trevor, like I said, he was on a side quest for like Slimer, but that was kind of about it.
Yeah, that's all he did in this movie.
But I mean, again, like we said, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad Slimer was actually in this movie, but I still didn't quite understand why. I'm like, he was just kind of there, but I mean, that's all he needs to do. He's Slimer, but
right.
I don't know. Everyone, like I said, the big hitters seem to be like Ray and then like Phoebe, and I don't want to discredit hopefully Frank has a picture of the girl ghost who was on fire, because that was the entire like catalyst to like the story. I'm like, I don't know why we're I know what people are gonna say. I'm like, you do understand that was the entire point. I can rant on for a minute. She had her own like motivation that all she wanted to do was see her family again, because you're stuck in that limbo of being a ghost, having died. And speaking of Empire, they had like it's like you hate to see it, because I'm like, and that's the thing, is like Phoebe's having her teen angst moment now, or maybe it is starting to all come in together on her, and it's like she really doesn't know how to handle it. And the first thing she connects with is this little ghost girl, and it's like, yeah, well, of course she's going to gravitate towards. Unfortunately, it's someone who's dead. It's not a living person that she can connect with. Maybe Paul Rudd, but the ghost girl and I can't remember the main ghost with the horns. Started with the G.
I forget the name of the damn ghost myself.
It's not like Garrick or something. It's
something like that. I don't know.
But they had like a Vader and Emperor thing where you hear like it kind of, I don't know if it said words, but like you hear her kind of going like, oh, but does it have to be her? Like, I've connected with this person, and then she just goes like, okay, I understand. I was like, damn, she thought that was her way out. So.
One of the things that got me about that, and since we're talking about the plot, I'll bring this up. Why did he specifically need Phoebe's ghost? There's a bajillion ghosts running around this entire damn movie, and he could have taken over one of them. Why specifically her? It never really explained that.
I caught what she said, right? Didn't she say that it takes a human voice? So now that her body's separated, he took over her. And he was saying that.
Oh, and and her body was lipping the words while he was.
She was saying it. Yeah,
I was like, and she was the only one who would have been young enough and stupid enough to do that. rather than trying to get freshly 18-year-old Trevor to do it, who wouldn't have done it, trying to get Mom to do it, she doesn't care, she doesn't exist. Trying to get Paul Rudd to do it, he'd be like, no. Like, there's,
I'm assuming for some
when
reason
you're thinking about that, it's like who would do that? Phoebe Saloon, who would do that?
Well, I was like, you can't just
Logically.
possess a human. I'm like, as strong as this ghost seems to be, I'm like, you could just, I don't know why it had to be the separated thing. I mean, I get it. It's like Phoebe again just kind of fell for this.
It's for the plot.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I
why
was like,
you
that's
can't
the
do it.
only
It's for
reason
the
is like
plot.
she, she started to connect with this this ghost girl, and unfortunately, it's like, well, now she sets you up to get overtaken, and then now because that little recording got busted, now you need a human voice to say the chant in order to summon him. So I'm like, well, kind of an awkward way to get there, but we got there, I guess. And then
I didn't like that storyline at all.
I don't know. I didn't like it, but I was like, it's like, I guess you got your point across. Because when I saw the little roller get broken in the middle of the road when the possessor ghost took off, I was like, oh, okay, so now what?
I for some reason cannot find a picture of her online.
That's weird.
That is very odd.
It is odd.
Maybe they're well. I mean, the movie's only been released, so
It's only been out.
A lot of screen grabs and everything are not really going to make it out yet. But yeah, another thing about the plot is somewhere along the line, Winston Zeddemore became Q. He's got his whole setup somewhere in Staten Island where he's doing parent. I mean, he's got money, but it's like, look, it wasn't like this was set up. Maybe it was. I don't know. I don't know if they expressly said this in the movie. But did they set this up in the 2 years since the events of Afterlife? Or is this something that Winston started doing a long time ago? Because if it's something he started doing a long time ago, where the hell were you guys when shit was popping off in Oklahoma 2 years ago? It's like, you think that
well, they showed up eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Well, they had a lot
in the ninth inning, for Christ's sake. Come on, I could have used you a long time ago.
They did have a lot of possessed items there, so I don't believe that just popped up in the last 2 years. So that is a good question. I don't know.
Maybe they were busy.
The other thing, there's
a lot of moving parts, okay?
There's one specific scene that got my heart racing a little bit. The first time she sits down to start playing chess, I'm thinking to myself, she's sitting there alone. There's going to be a ghost. I remembered the last movie, the whole thing with the chess between her and Egon. And then when the chess piece started to move, I was like, are they really going to go back to Egon?
Yeah, I
thought was happening.
Part of me was thinking to myself, I wouldn't do this because you've already paid tribute to Harold Ramis. Let that be what it is. And I thought that was one of the most beautiful things about Afterlife.
Yeah, that was really good.
But I was like, do you really want to go back to it though? I don't know that I'd have done that. And so the pieces start moving. And then as the hand starts to appear and apparate and all that, I was just like, oh, we're going to get to see Egon again. Or is this Egon? And then it becomes this girl. And my first thought was, who the fuck is this? It's like, yeah, great. Okay. We obviously had explained who she was over the course of the movie, but I'm like, why some rando ghost? I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't really understand that. I thought it maybe would have just been better if it had been some random ghost, or maybe somebody who would have appeared at the very end of the movie as kind of a surprise cameo. It could have been Ryan Reynolds, or for all I know. That would have been a fun cameo to see in here.
That would be fun.
Could have been the ghost of Ron Burgundy. But girls can't be Ghostbusters. They have a brain half the size of a man. It's science.
2016 didn't happen.
2016 didn't happen. But yeah, so I don't know if I was disappointed or cheated by that scene, or if it ended up working out. I think for the most part it ended up working out, but it's like in the moment I was like, ooh, more Egon.
It worked, but was it good?
I love that everyone's like, wow, why are they both like, hey, boo, like that's funny, haha. I'm like, did you not understand? Did you not watch the first movie?
Right.
Literally how both of them talk. I'm like, why are you acting like them being awkward now is like stupid? I'm like,
right.
I did kind of like
they both act the same way.
I did like her reaction though, because at this point she's pretty much a veteran to this ghost thing. So a ghost appears.
Yeah, she's like, aren't you scared?
Oh, hey.
No.
She's like, no. Don't you know what I do?
I guess to be fair, the thing would freak me out is I'm like, you just look like a human. All these other ghosts are like monsters.
Yeah,
like actually.
That's
like
also
people.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like, wait, why are you like a human? Like, why do we have like Casper the Friendly Ghost now in this movie? I was like, why are you what?
Well, and then I realized, like, even in Afterlife, once Egon presents himself to her, not necessarily in ghost form, but starts playing chess and all that, she doesn't bat an eye at that point either. She's just like, I'm going with it. I'm curious, and the part of my brain that wants to learn cool shit is overriding everything else right now, and I want to follow this thing and see where it goes. So she wasn't like, oh my God, these chess pieces are moving, and run around the house screaming, Mom, Mom, Mom. She was just like, where's that little meter thing? I'm going to follow this ghost to wherever it takes me, and ends up in his little laboratory lair. So it's like, that didn't really shock me, but I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to see Egon again in that moment. I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I didn't want them to go back to that. I wanted the homage they paid to him in the last movie just to exist where it is and not to be fucked with again. But in the end, ultimately, I was thinking about it. I was like, ooh, who is this? Are we going to see them? Who is this ghost? The ghost character girl, whatever. I mean, she's not a MacGuffin necessarily. She's a plot point.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that she kind of like learns the error of her ways at the end and helps them defeat him. That's old.
She helped the Fire Nation.
Yeah. She helped the Avatar blow the fire towards the guy. But I feel like there's other ways they could have done that. I mean, nothing against the actress or anything. Nothing. Emily Alyn Lind is her name. She's in what is she in? One of those
I don't know.
CW teenage coming of age shows. I forget which one she was in. Gilmore Girls or something like that. But yeah, nothing against her, but I mean, I would have handled that part of it all a little bit differently. I mean, it works for the movie they ended up giving us, but I would handle it differently.
You're supposed
and
to
the other thing, they almost pissed me off. I don't mind diversity in movies as long as it fits the story. As long as it's not, I only made this movie to make diversity happen. As long as it's not like that, it's fine. For a brief moment, and she first turns herself into a ghost, and she's walking up to the other ghost girl. I'm like, I'm willing to bet now this is when Hollywood does what it does, and they kiss or something like that, and she comes out as being gay. I'm like, this is what Hollywood does. They're gonna fuck this whole thing up for me, and they're gonna force this shit. Because one of the things I didn't like about It Chapter 2 was the whole Richie Tozier being gay thing.
I didn't watch Chapter 2, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
I didn't. They don't allude to that in the first movie. I didn't care about the character being gay. But don't wait until halfway through part 2 and approach it for 5 seconds and then ignore it for the rest of the film. It's like that to me is where inclusivity goes wrong. If you'd have made him gay from the jump, I wouldn't have cared. If you make it a part of the character in the moment, early on in the introduction of the character, and then it becomes a plot point, that's fine. I thought for a minute they were going to do that, and I was like, really? You're going to force this moment into right now? And they ended up not doing it. But as they were walking towards each other, I was just like, I've seen these romance movies before. And, yes, I've watched a few. And this is that moment where, like, the two lovebirds, they're like the whole thing about them being on the ethereal plane. There was a lot of romance surrounding the moment. And so I was just like, is this really what they're going to do right now? Because it was building up to that kind of moment. And then it just kind of stopped and it didn't. And I was like, okay, good. Because if you introduce her now as a lesbian, I'm like, come on, dude. You're obviously forcing this into this character that you haven't touched it before. You haven't made it a part of her character before. You're forcing her now just to satisfy some DEI bullshit. You're redefining the character on the fly, but they didn't, and I'm glad. But that's what I expect from Hollywood.
I think that, with it being almost a coming of age thing for her, I don't know that it would have been necessarily too out there to introduce that at this point if we were going to go forward with that for some reason. It would have been
too sudden.
It would have been very sudden. It could have gone gently. Like they could have well, I mean, they didn't do anything, so therefore there's, not really anything to speak on.
So I feel like I'm bitching about something that was never a problem.
Right, I was going to say,
but it's like they didn't. But as I was watching the scene, that's what I was just like, okay, this looks like this is what.
Yeah, I had that feeling that was going to happen too, but then it didn't, and it was like, oh, that's fine. I mean, they had their own moment, and it, they were both supposed to be. Well, she was dead, but 16. That's about the right time to be figuring out who you are.
Well, she's been 16 for how long?
Well, that too. But the dead one, I mean.
It doesn't make it...
Not the dead one.
It doesn't... No. I'm like... Because I already caught it too, and she's like, oh, yeah, that means I'm just 16 forever. And I'm like, don't. She's not actually 16. Hold on now. We saw Twilight. Yeah, Edward's 17. A fucking 100 years ago he was.
Yeah,
like, no, he's not. This is fucked up, and I don't like it. And we're not even going to talk about Jacob and Bella's daughter. We're not even going to go there either, okay?
You mean Edward and Bella's daughter, that Jacob?
What the fuck? I don't care, man. I pushed those movies out of my fucking... You know what?
You've watched more of them than I have. Let's be real. You've watched more of them than I have.
Watched 2 of them. Did I?
I've watched one.
I only enjoyed one of them. I actually liked the first one. I was like, this is okay. But there's some things
I only watched the first 2 in theaters because the girl that I was dating at the time wanted to go see him, and I'm like, I kind of want to touch some butt tonight, so I'm gonna go. And then I never saw anything past the second one.
I watched because
the first
who I was
Twilight
dating wanted to go
in my dentist office. That's why I watched it. It was playing in the dentist office while I was getting my braces put on.
Look, you know what? These 2 would have been a better love story than Twilight. We all know that. That's just how that goes.
That is an old reference.
Okay, but I'm not allowed to be an older millennial. Excuse me.
I have a better love affair with my bottle of hot sauce that I keep on my desk than those 2 have. I caress it gently, I pour it gently, I smile and talk nice to it as it's putting spicy goodness on my food.
I buy it stuff, we go out.
I don't carry my hot sauce in a holster though. That's just a step too far.
Yeah,
that's too
look, that's what I was saying. Is I'm like, I know what this character's about to be. I'm like, Phoebe's having her moment. Like she's like, oh, now I'm like, I can't do anything now. Legally, I can't do anything. And I'm frustrated because, like you said, she's the smartest person in the room, the next 5 people combined. And it's like, that's got to suck when you are the one who does know what the hell they're doing and has their shit together out of this whole team. I mean, we're not going to talk about the mom. I'm like, Trevor, I guess, tried. He laid out some like fucking Cheetos.
He did his best.
That's exactly what I expect. Like, I mean, look, I've been an 18-year-old boy. I would have probably tried that, to be fair. And I probably would have stood there like, yeah, that didn't work.
You're saying you wouldn't try that now?
Look.
The pause.
I am 31. I'm like, yes, I would still try it.
Answered my question.
That's not the point. I'm saying, like, I understand that. But, like, he's like I said, none of them are Phoebe. So I get that now it's like when you know it, but like everyone else, while they have good intentions of telling you, like, yeah, man, this is just how the life is, man. So I get that she was frustrated. I'm like, oh, this is going to be the character she connects to. And it's like, oh, again, you don't do rational things when you're 16. So I'm like, yeah, right. So I'm like,
especially if you're a 16-year-old girl who's been told no.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, crap. Jeez. I'm like,
you were told no?
I was already like, oh, this ghost girl's got something else in her sleeve because I'm like, oh, we're caring about her. She died in a fire. I'm like, oh no, Phoebe, don't fall for it, please.
Yeah,
something's not. There's no reason why she would have just shown up. I don't know. And because then when you hear the ghost, the god ghost's like voice, I'm like, oh, there it is. Yep, she's in cahoots, and I'm like, great, she made some deal with this frozen demon thing. Like, damn it. And again, it isn't explicitly stated. It's like, yes, it like I said when we did Last of Us in the game, like it's not explicitly said that Bill's gay. I mean, I'm like, sure, maybe him and Frank did have a thing. I don't know. And we saw it in the show. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure.
And it was one of the most beautiful episodes of television history.
That was a really great episode.
That's what I mean. And I'm like, and it was done right. Like what I was gonna say is like, now you can be obnoxious and flat out say it, and you can do these things wrong. And like Frank was saying, you can shove this in everyone's face, and it's like, this is why we kind of go like, come on, really? It's obnoxious. My example was from The Walking Dead when the character of Tara was introduced. She's a lesbian. There's a scene between her and Eugene where Eugene's like, and I just want to, I'm gonna do my best impression of Eugene, so bear with me. He's like, and I just want to say, Tara, you are just wholeheartedly attractive. And she just kind of goes, yeah, I like girls. And he just flat out goes like, I know that. I'm aware. I'm like, oh, I'm like, see, it's stated and it's still kind of funny and it's just not in your face. I'm like, oh, right. But they didn't do that. And I'm like, I feel like that's why people are mad. Everyone's like, the Ghostbusters are gay now. I'm like, where's your proof? They're like, because she is. I'm like, you spent no time on that point. You have no proof that she was.
That's one of the things that really aggravated me about the last season of Stranger Things. The whole thing about his buddy like being upset because Finn Wolfhard's character wants to go find Elle. It's like, and I've had so many people say, oh, but if you watch the whole show, they've been telling you the whole show. I'm like, no, the whole show he's been an awkward like 12-year-old boy. Yeah. I was like, that doesn't mean gay. Every 12-year-old boy is awkward. Taken from somebody who wasn't 12.
Every 12-year-old boy is a little bit gay too. I mean, when are we going to have that conversation?
Let me tell you right now, somebody who has been my best friend for most of my life, the last 24 years. I've known him since 2nd grade. I think I was graduating high school, and his mom told me then. She's known me this whole time. She's like, you know what? I thought you were gay. I'm like, what? She's like, well, I know you're not. Obviously, my girlfriend at the time was right there, and she thought she was on the floor laughing at this point, dying.
You ever listen to Sam? You ever listen to Sam Kinison stand up? He's got this.
No.
He's got this one bit about how he says psychiatrists say that every man has a gay fantasy. He says I'm sitting here rolling through my head, going through my fantasies because I want it out. I'm trying to delete that fantasy.
No, I think I've heard or it's a meme. It's like if you and your best friend don't at least make your family at least question your sexuality a little bit. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, that's probably fair. To be fair, her son went in the Navy, so let's you know what? It writes itself, okay. And I did not. So
insert joke about semen here. Anyway,
just riding the sperm whales today, boys. How the way is looking.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, ultimately it didn't go that way, and I'm fine with it. But I was just like, please don't let the people in Hollywood that want to pander to a relatively small group.
It didn't go 2016.
It didn't go there. It didn't go there.
We're okay. I think they
look.
learned
As much as I get aggravated by Carrie Coon's character in both the last movie and specifically in this one, I still think she's a better character. Well, it fits into a better movie than what the 2016 one was. I don't dislike the actresses in the 2016 movie.
Yeah, like I said,
their performances are funny.
Their
performances are very funny. It was a good comedy. It was a bad Ghostbusters movie. That's what I've always tried to tell people. It's a good comedy. It's a bad Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
But let's move on to a little bit of trivia now. I think we've pretty much talked to death all the stuff that's going to piss off, the YouTube censors and stuff like that. So let's get into some trivia. I don't know if you noticed that when Gary picked out the movie for movie night, we talked about this a couple of days ago. He held up a VHS copy of Cannibal Girls from 1973. That was his second feature film directed by Ivan Reitman, who directed the first Ghostbusters films. He's also listed as a producer on this one. The title Cannibal Girls can also be seen on the movie theater marquee in both Ghostbusters 2 and Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Well, we're just really.
As soon as I was literally, because I took my youngest son to go see it yesterday, and I literally was that one meme where it's like I saw it and I was like pointing with the cigarette in my hand, going, "Oh, there's a thing." I saw it. I got that reference.
The Leo DiCaprio, like, oh, right there.
Yeah, that's it. But I saw that and I was like, oh, that's awesome. Now, you know what? Honestly, we have to put that on the list of movies to do now. Now that I know that's out there.
Like I said, I think it was. What did I say? Tubi?
Hulu. I think you said it was on.
No, yeah, it might have been Hulu. So we can do it.
Bottom line is, we got to find that movie and do it now. We have to. I wish I had a good picture of William Atherton, but I don't. This is the third appearance of William Atherton's character Walter Peck in the Ghostbusters films after the original Ghostbusters in 1984 and the video game Ghostbusters in 2009. An animated version of the character appeared in the real Ghostbusters in 1986 in the episode Big Trouble with Little Slimer from the 1987 season, with his voice provided by Robert Towers. However, this is Peck's second appearance in live action, matching, of course, the 40th anniversary of the original film. I was, Jack, I don't know if you were trying to make me believe that he's only in the movie for 30 seconds when we talked about it the other day.
I was trying not to.
I was thinking to myself, I don't want him to be just like he's in a scene and then he's gone. If you're going to have him in the movie, I want him to be kind of significant to the plot.
I wanted him to be more. Yeah.
I thought he was used pretty well. I wouldn't have minded seeing him more, but the reality is him just being that guy. Look, he's not a significant part of the movie. He's that one little annoying gnat that's flying around while ghosts are trying to kill people. But I thought he was used a lot more than what I was afraid he was going to be used. I didn't want him to be just like a one scene and then he's gone. I didn't want that kind of stupid member berry. I wanted him to have some dialogue and to be a little bit of antagonist again. He was exactly that. I was happy. I could have gone for more of him, but I was just glad to see him on screen again in the Ghostbusters film.
I guess I'm like, if he has this like political power now, I was kind of like, I thought he'd be a little bit more of a nuisance in that aspect, but I guess I'm like, I don't know what I wanted, but I wanted a little more. I do appreciate at the end when like they use that mob mentality, like, so Mr. Mayor, aren't you proud of them? And it's like, He's got to swallow 40 years of hate. Like, oh yeah, they saved New York.
It reminded me of that scene at the end of one of the Avengers. Not what was the Avengers movie? What movie was it? Where Gary Shandling's character, the senator, has to pin the medal on.
On Tony
Stark.
I think it was 2, right? Yeah.
I think I might have been. Yeah,
Iron Man 2.
And he's just like, it's really annoying, isn't it? That one little prick.
that one little prick.
It reminded me a lot of that scene. I got kind of a kick out of it, especially William Atherton struggling to be like, I want to say how much these guys are and how much I hate them, but now I'm kind of cornered and I can't because I don't want to ruin.
You
my
played
career.
yourself, buddy.
Yeah, you played yourself, kid. But I don't know if you noticed where the picture go. I said in this scene right here. In the background of the new facility, the slime blowers used in Ghostbusters 2 in 1989 can be seen. One of the engineers is spraying another, perhaps to test the effects of the slime.
Nice.
I did not notice that when I saw the movie yesterday.
There's so much going on in that lab. I didn't notice it either.
there was a lot going on in the lab.
I was trying to focus on, like, if this is the place we're going to have, dialogue happen that's important. I was trying to pay attention to what was going on.
Yeah, there was so much exposition going on about, the big reveal that he had become basically Q and was doing all this techie shit involving ghosts. That was kind of up front, so you missed a lot of things. Did you notice in the basement where the storage unit is for the ghosts, that little red and white boxy thing sitting off in the corner? That was one of the pieces of equipment that was being wheeled out of Peter Venkman's office in the original Ghostbusters. When they walk back in, the guys telling them that they're being kicked off campus. That little thing, that guy with the headphones on, he was like dancing as he was rolling the thing up. That's that machine.
Huh.
Actually, you can also see it. It's really dark. It's hard to see. You can also see it in the little underground lab that Egon had at his farm. It's actually in there too.
Well, I was gonna say, it's like, I just now noticed what the hell that was actually in his jacket. It was a fucking Crunch Bar. I'm like, you barely see it in the original Ghost. He's like, hey, you've earned it. I'm like, what did he give him? I don't. Why are we just zooming in on Ray smiling? I'm like, what? I always thought it was a weird part of the first movie. I'm like, what did he give him? What did he earn?
It's almost like 40 years ago, they were like, this is going to be a great Easter egg when they make part 2.
Man, they're going to shit their pants in like 40 years when we pull it out of his jacket again. I'm like, yeah.
In 2021, they're going to love this shit.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. Kids are going to love it.
Kids are going to love it.
Kids are going to love it. Let's see. According to Mckenna Grace, I almost called her Mackenzie like an idiot. According to Mckenna Grace, it was somewhat more difficult, at least for her, to work with the surviving original cast members compared to Ghostbusters Afterlife, when the original cast members came in very late in filming and were only on set for about 2 weeks to shoot the climactic scene. Yeah. In this installment, the original cast were on set for about 90% of the shoot. Grace admitted that while it was fun working with them and hearing their stories, it also felt a little intimidating, and she worried about screwing up in front of the guys who started this whole thing 40 years ago.
I would
Fair.
As cool as it be to hang around like Aykroyd and Bill Murray, I'd be fucking worried that I'd say the wrong thing, look the wrong way. Like, yeah, if I was in a room with these 4 people right here, I'd be fucking I'd be looking at every step I took, every which way I looked, and I'm like, no, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, if you put me on the mound and said, hey, go throw a few pitches, then all of a sudden Nolan Ryan walks out of the dugout. He's like, hey, I'm just going to check you out. I'm going to be like,
okay.
Greatest pitcher ever.
Did I throw the stream right?
I would immediately give a noodle arm, and I would not be able to do anything right. I 100% would just fall apart if you put somebody that good in front of me and said, hey, do what this guy did. Okay, sure. I'll suck really bad compared to this guy who's standing 50 feet away. But let's see. Early in the film, I don't know if I have a picture for this or not. Early in the film, news reports recalled the time the Ghostbusters hitched a ride on the Statue of Liberty from Ghostbusters 2. Additionally, in the report can be seen footage archive of Harold Ramis's Egon Spengler, a fragment of the music video by Ray Parker Jr.
Yep.
When Ray Parker dances with him in Times Square, and a commercial from the first movie. So you still had to get your Egon reference in there to try to hit that little emotional note. That's not a bad way to do it, though. I mean,
yeah, I
did think it was funny that they finally referenced Ghostbusters 2, because it does kind of. I didn't put that in here, but because Gil Kenan has said that there has been talks about revisiting the whole Vigo thing from Ghostbusters 2, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, if in Ghostbusters Afterlife you revisited the whole Gozer thing, and they did pretty well with that story, I thought. If you revisited that and made it look pretty good, there's no reason why you can't bring Vigo back to wreak some more havoc. Maybe he's trying to take over Phoebe this time to rule the world or whatever. I don't know. I guess we kind of did that in this movie. Maybe sort of a little bit. You know what? Fuck it. Let him go after Finn Wolfhard's character. I want to put him in danger for a minute. It's like he seems like such a doddering idiot for this whole movie. I mean, it's like, yeah, granted, Slimer's been around for a while, so I'm expecting Slimer to put it over on this. Well, he's 18 in this movie, as he says over and over
multiple
again,
times. Yeah.
Mhm.
But so I mean, watching him put it over on this 18-year-old is kind of fun. It's like the veteran ghost Slimer against this 18-year-old kid who still barely knows his elbow from his asshole. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. But let's see. Gil Kenan actually confirmed that the late Ivan Reitman was made aware of the plans for this film before his death in February of 2022, which is 3 months before the sequel was officially announced. Kenan and Jason Reitman walked the franchise's original director through their complete pitch, and he actually gave his approval before he passed.
Oh, wow.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
If you took it to him and he says, "I like your idea," I mean, that's going to the Godfather, and the Godfather saying, "I like this. This is good." Even if it didn't turn out exactly the way I would have wanted it to, getting his approval, I think, is an important part.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about Star Trek, and I'll go off on a bit of a Star Trek tangent here, is there's 3 scenes in Star Trek that helped that franchise move along into good things. There was there's the scene in the first episode, Encounter at Farpoint of Star Trek: Next Generation, because I remember when that came out in the mid '90s, early
I think
90s.
it was.
No, it was late '80s that it actually came out. It had most of us around the '90s. But I remember when that show first came out, there was a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I don't know if Star Trek fans are really going to like this. There's no Kirk, no Spock. It's all the stuff that we loved about the original series and the movies isn't there." That scene where Data's talking to Dr. McCoy, that was one of those scenes where they were kind of where the old people were. It was a passing of the torch moment. I think that was kind of a psychic nod to fans to say, it's okay to like this. We think it's pretty good. We're giving it our stamp of approval. It's going to be okay. And the Next Generation ended up being one of the most beloved things that Star Trek has ever done. There was a similar scene in the first Star Trek movie, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, where Spock talks to the younger version of himself. And that served a very similar purpose. That it was the old guard telling the new fans, or the old guard telling the older fans, it's okay to like this. It's not bad. You can go forward with this. And I thought that was huge. There was another one on Deep Space Nine that wasn't nearly as emotional, but it was still pretty good. And that's one of the reasons why I think that show ended up doing pretty well. But that's the kind of thing that's important to know, is that the guys that were around from the beginning, the creators of this thing, are saying, okay, go forward with that. That's going to work out. That pushes my artistic vision farther down than what I am able to push it. That means a lot to me as a fan. Not always the best execution as it would turn out, but I mean, still, the fact that he liked the story, he was like, okay, go for it. That sounds good to me. And it wasn't a bad movie, but still, getting his approval is very important. And, you brought it up earlier, Jeremy. The character Lars Pinfield, played by James Acaster, is a nod to the version of Egon Spengler who sports the curly blonde hair and even wears the blue Ghostbusters uniform in the real Ghostbusters cartoon that ran in the late 80s and early 90s.
I was gonna say he looks dead on like the Egon from Real Ghostbusters. Yeah. I was just like, I couldn't see it, but I was not mad about it. I'm like, I know that's the reference, and I appreciate it.
I didn't realize it until I read that piece of trivia. I was like, you know what? He kind of did. I didn't realize that.
That was the first thing I know. It's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, is he supposed to be? Because I'm here for it.
And I didn't watch a lot of the Real Ghostbusters cartoon. It just wasn't one of the ones I watched. But I mean, I watched a few episodes. I remember it, and it just didn't catch me as I was watching this guy do his stuff on screen until I read this piece of trivia, and then it hit me. I was like, holy shit, he does look a lot like him. Yeah, there was actually a lot of nods to the Real Ghostbuster cartoon in this.
Well, I was gonna say if that's kind of your, like you said, without actually kind of doing a nod to Egon, you still kind of are, which is a subtle way of doing it, which is nice.
Yeah, a lot of people said that there was a lot of the Real Ghostbusters cartoon, despite the fact that they did not consult the showrunner of the Ghostbusters cartoon or have any of the voice talent that was in the cartoon, did not involve any of them in cameos or anything like that. So they didn't involve any of the creative team of that cartoon, but there was a lot of nods to that particular piece of work, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I'm okay with that, though.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I actually liked that show. I really do.
I remember liking it. This was one of the ones I watched a lot. I mean, if it was on TV, in 1992 or whatever, as I was getting home from high school, and I would watch it, sure, if it was on, but it's like I didn't gravitate to it or anything.
1992, like it was so long ago, right?
It was. One of these days you'll be pushing 50 like me, and 1992 is going to be a long time ago.
It's the year I was born, man. It's not that far.
But, one of the things I got to get, Jay, and I've been meaning to get this for a long, long time. Did you know that, this, we've talked about this before, Dan Aykroyd actually makes his own vodka called Crystal Head Vodka. In one of the shelves.
Give me 1 second.
Are you getting up or am I getting up for this?
I'm getting up. It is
already getting up. I can see
2
it.
bottles of it are 3 feet from my face right now.
In one of the shelves in Ray's Occult Bookstore is a glass skull bottle, a nod to Dan Aykroyd, who actually conceived and created Crystal Head Vodka. Jeremy, you're on.
Come back. Boom. There it is.
Here's the black one.
Yeah, she has the agave one. We have 2 of these, the normal crystal ones. And then
I've been meaning to get a bottle of that forever. He was on Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast a long time ago. He brought him 2 bottles, and they were sitting there talking about it. And you guys, like, they didn't talk about like Ghostbusters a lot and stuff like that. They basically spent 2 hours talking about ghost sightings and stuff like that and paranormal shit. And I was like, I kind of wanted, when I hit play on that podcast, I kind of wanted to hear him talk a little about Ghostbusters, a little bit about stuff he did in his career. They basically spent 2 hours talking about ghosts and ghost hunting and haunting and shit. And I was like, this is a better podcast than the one that I wanted to hear.
That is
this one right here.
That is what Dan Aykroyd's into, man. He's,
Well, his, I think I told you before, his great-grandfather or grandfather, I forget, somebody in his family literally wrote what is considered the primary like educational book on paranormal activity. And when they reissued the book and reprinted it back in, I want to say the 90s or early 2000s or something like that, Dan Aykroyd actually wrote a foreword for it.
Ooh.
So his family has been in this shit for like 150 years.
Wow.
Like his grandfather or great grandfather, somebody was one of the first like real paranormal investigators. And that's one of the things that led him to even writing Ghostbusters back in the 70s. Was this has been like a family thing for him for years when he was a kid. So he was like, I'm gonna write some comedic shit about ghosts, and that would eventually evolved into Ghostbusters.
That's
also
cool.
Alex, yes, these bottles are really badass. The reason why we got 2 is because I want to replace this top and like make it a light bulb and turn this into like a light or something, because just have like a button on top to make this into just a cool little shelf piece. Because I mean, these
they have
really
those wicked. They have those string light things. They're not Christmas lights, but they're like really, really thin, like wire thin.
Go down.
Just put a bunch of them down in there, and then just put like a
influencer lights.
Yes,
right.
Yeah,
Influencer lights. Yeah,
that's
cool.
This will diffuse the light really well, and like that's what I wanted to do, was make one of these into something that lights up and just put it on the shelf. Like, these things are cool. I want to see what that one that the other one that we have is the black agave one. There's a third flavor, I think. I was trying to look at what it was.
Yeah, there's one. There's a third
see what that one does.
I've never seen in stores.
We might have to actually buy it, but I mean, hey, this is good stuff. So not sponsored, but please, Dan Aykroyd, sponsor me or something, because that'd be cool. I like your vodka,
for multiple reasons, Dan Aykroyd. You have to sponsor us. Just give me a 5-minute interview for crying out loud.
just talk to me for a minute. I don't care.
But that's all the trivia I have right now. So I guess it's probably a good place to start wrapping things up. I mean, so I'll go to you first, Rachel. Give me your final thoughts on Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire.
Overall, a fun movie to watch. Don't know if I'll watch it again for fun, though. That's kind of my end thoughts on it. Like, it was a fun watch. It was a cool addition to the story, but it didn't have much rewatch value to me. That's my official review.
All right, calm down.
Jay, what do you think? Give me your final thoughts on Ghostbusters: Frozen Kingdom. Sorry,
I think that was Jurassic Park. I think we're
wrong. Way too late sequel. Sorry,
wrong franchise.
Dinosaurs, ghosts, whatever.
Same difference.
Yeah, they're both extinct, I guess.
Yeah, technically.
I swear to God, if I see I almost say Chris Evans. Oh my God, what fucking Chris Pratt? If I see Chris Pratt out there with some sort of fucking like proton pack leash trying to grab a velociraptor, I'm out. I'm done.
What about Ghost Chris Pratt?
It's still gonna annoy me because like he doesn't
because it's Chris Pratt.
No, I don't hate Chris Pratt. I just hate that he's fucking voicing everything. Stop. This was an okay sequel. if I'm just objectively looking at Afterlife and this, they work. And I don't know how much talks we were going to get into, like, oh, could there be another movie? I'm like, probably. Very quickly, I don't really know what the point of the after credit scene was. Like, this trucker got his shit jacked by a bunch of little marshmallow men. I'm like, okay,
funny,
goofy, but what? I guess they're out in the world, if that's the joke. So yeah, there could be more. And again, I know I keep sounding like a broken record, but if there's a third part to this story, I'm like, I want to look at it and objectively kind of look at that. And as Ghostbusters as a whole, I mean, yeah, it works, but it doesn't. I don't think it holds up as well to the other ones. You know, nothing beats the first movie.
Nothing.
No, like I said, 2 was okay. I didn't hate it. Afterlife was pretty damn good for what it was trying to be, and then this one just kind of was something else. It was just not quite there. I don't know. Worth a watch for the story, but for the
fun,
for the lore of this world. But yeah,
it's gonna sound harsh, but it's the 4th best film of all 4 films.
It's the second word of our channel title. I think you're allowed to say it.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's easily the worst of the 4 franchise films. It's still plenty watchable. I mean, I'll watch this movie again for fun. I'll give it. I try to give every movie more than one chance, because there's been plenty of movies that I've watched the first time and I've been like, meh, they weren't that great, and then I kind of stumble across them a second time. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, now it's hitting me differently now. Maybe it's this life experience that makes me see the plot of the movie and the characters differently. I don't know, but I've gone back and watched things and they've hit me differently. But yeah, I mean, this movie, while it definitely hits the nostalgia mark pretty well. Some plot things that didn't quite fit. There was some, like I said, the character arc for Phoebe didn't really work for me. She's too smart to fall into some of these typical traps the average 15-year-old would fall into. It's not because 15-year-olds are dumb, it's just because life experience doesn't. You don't have the wisdom to recognize some things when you're 15, whether you're in a good position or a bad one.
That's what I mean.
You just don't have a lot of wisdom. She's got that. She's got the smarts, and she's already dealt with the ghost thing in the last movie. So it's not like. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I would say, is it the the common thing of, like, she's super intelligent but no common sense? She kind of didn't really think that through. Like, that's clouding her
book smarts, no street smarts.
That's clouding her whole judgment.
I have known a lot of people like that have.
I know people like that
for
too.
Days, and they're just stupid. So it's possible.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's her. I mean, she kind of. I think she even plays it in the first movie a little bit, where it's like yeah, telling the bad jokes and stuff like that. But it's like when she gets around somebody like Podcast, or when she gets around Paul Rudd's character, they're kind of all the same ilk. So it's easy for her to connect with those people. It's not like she can't connect with anybody. It's like everybody, all 3 of us, everybody out there, we have certain kinds of people that we connect to very quickly, and other people that no matter how hard we may try, we just can't really get on that level. Mm-hmm. But her, I mean, it's like she's surrounded by people, her mom and her brother, who she's known her whole life. Paul Rudd's character, he's a scientist too. So, and he's a Ghostbusters super fan, as they established in the first film in Afterlife. So it's like that. It's like she's in her ilk, and she always seems so kind of out of it. Like, that should compensate for the some of the awkwardness of her not understanding the social aspect of it all. I mean, they try to play it off like she's Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, like she doesn't understand the social stuff, but she does.
Yeah, she has more. Yeah, it is kind of almost typecast in a way.
But yeah, I didn't like a lot of the character arc. I mean, the special effects were what they were. They were as good as they were in the last film. They're as good as they were in any of the Ghostbusters films. Actually, I think they were probably a little bit. I think they were. One of the things I didn't like about the 2016 was some of the special effects were too crisp. They were 4K special effects. Mm-hmm. Kind of like when Paul Feig made that movie, he was like, they're going to watch this in 4K. This needs to be super awesome, spectral, whatever. And I'm like, some of the grittiness about it kind of makes it look like a better ghost. So yeah. I think these are probably better effects in that way. That's one of the things that makes the original Ghostbusters so fun. It's like you can tell, like when the devil dog is chasing Rick Moranis' character, the CGI is obvious. It's like the computer, the claymation, however they did it back then, it was really obvious. But over the years, it's kind of added
stop motion or
the
something.
magic of watching that movie a little bit. But But yeah, I mean, it's the fourth best of the legit franchise. It missed in a couple of spots where I was hoping it would hit. Overall, it's good. I'll watch it again. I mean, if I get a chance to sit and watch 1, 2, Afterlife, and this all in a row, like on a day off where I've got nothing to do, I'll start at 8 o'clock in the morning and bang out all 4 of these movies and have a lot of fun doing it. I think they work really well together. It fits into the Ghostbusters universe, which is the most important thing that it had to do.
Yeah.
If you make a movie that just didn't fit, like the 2016 movie, I mean, I know it wasn't supposed to be it was supposed to be a remake, not a sequel, but it's like it was. While it was a great comedy, it was a bad Ghostbusters movie. It just wasn't. It didn't fit into the franchise at all. And if it would have done at least that, maybe people would look upon that movie a little more fondly. But they just don't. But it fits into the franchise overall. I still like the characters for the most part, the important characters anyway. Phoebe and Wolfhard didn't have a whole lot to do with this movie either. He was a bigger part of the last movie. I don't know if that was by design. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this movie was supposed to be centered more around Phoebe anyway. So the fact
maybe he costs too much money.
Possible.
That's also true.
It's possible. Him and Millie Bobby Brown are getting kind of pricey. I have a feeling that's one of the reasons why they're going to end Stranger Things after this year. But after this current season they're filming, which we should get in 2047 or some shit like that.
I want to know how much Quiet Place paid for Eddie Munson, because holy shit. We got him in your movie though.
They're getting pricey now. But it was a good movie overall. It's not my favorite of the franchise by a large margin. It's fourth, but it's a tight grouping up there. But this is definitely fourth. It's not like this movie's a big drop off from everything else. It just didn't quite get there. It had moments, like I said, it had moments where it was starting to grab the magic of the last movie or the original Ghostbusters, but it just couldn't quite hold on for a long time and sustain it. And it was it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. Afterlife was a better movie. But then again, there was so much emotion in that movie.
Yeah.
There's
a lot in there, yeah.
You couldn't help but get really... I mean, like I said, I don't cry at movies ever, but it was like that last scene where Egon's saying his goodbyes to everybody. I was like...
Yeah, that one was hard.
I got a little tight-chested on that one. It was kind of like when Han Solo died. That hit me in my 10-year-old heart. I was like, no,
well, that was a rage-fueled upset. When that stupid little fucker turned on his lightsaber and just stabbed Han Solo through the chest, I was goddamn mad.
I've said it before. That part would have gotten me had they not telegraphed it so fucking bad.
Yes. I knew it was. I was like, come on. And I was like, I'm hoping something's going to happen, but no.
Because I remember watching the trailer for that movie when it first came out, and it shows that scene where they come on to the Millennium Falcon and he says, Chewie, we're home. And I was like, yes, Han Solo's fucking back, baby. And then when that part hits in the movie, when I went to see the movie the first time, the first thought that went through my head is he's going to die. He's dead. He's a goner. There's no way he makes it.
We go to that scene with Obi-Wan and Padme. You're gonna kill him, aren't you? I'm like, yep. He's having too much fun. You're gonna kill him. Like someone had that like little shot of Lando's back in the Falcon. He's like just laughing. He's like, ha, ha, here we go. And then it cuts to Padme. You're gonna kill him, aren't you? I'm like, please don't kill Billy D. Come on, man. Don't kill his character in Star Wars.
They did it. Of course, it was probably because Harrison Ford wanted it to happen, and that was how he got him.
Harrison Ford wanted it to happen. It happened since 1977. He didn't
he didn't want anything to do with this.
No.
But it's a good movie. Go check it out if you haven't yet. Casey was saying that he was popping in just to say hi, that he hadn't seen it yet, didn't want to be spoiled. I'm hoping I didn't. I'm hoping we didn't spoil Casey on it too much. I can't scroll that far up to find out where he said that. But it's a good movie. Go check it out if you haven't. Not the best Ghostbusters film, but a good one. It fits into the whole story overall pretty well. Also, I want, if they do a third movie in this for this group of people, would be a fifth movie. I hate to say it, but I want less of the original cast. If you're gonna let the torch, if you're gonna let Phoebe and her crew handle this thing, let them fucking handle it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Bill Murray
maybe still have Winston a little bit because he's got to be their money guy.
He's the Tony Stark. He's the one that just pays for everything and makes sure we look.
Yeah, he's paying for it.
He pays the bills. Yeah.
So him and Dan Aykroyd is a supporting character like he was in this movie. Wouldn't be bad. Bill Murray, stay away. I mean,
it's not necessary.
If Winston,
it's not necessary.
Yeah, if Winston's your Bruce Wayne, like Ray's kind of like your Lucius Fox. Like he's like, oh, I can get in here and get this.
going to him like when they were trying to like, he's like, I know somebody that can help, and then of course it doesn't say it. Then it cuts to Bill Murray doing his thing. That kind of thing would be okay. Yeah. But seeing him suit up again with a proton pack, I mean, Bill, hand it off.
He's too busy harassing women, anyways.
Right?
For all
yeah, that's true.
His character's too busy harassing women. Go do that somewhere else.
You're 147 years old. And also, I don't know if you noticed, no Sigourney Weaver.
I was
her name doesn't even get mentioned in this, but she did get a little bit of a mention when he's in front of the library. There is a big poster thing, a big vinyl poster thing hanging down that says "An Evening with Cellist Dana Barrett." so she wasn't in the movie, but she got a bit of a name drop if you're one of those eagle-eyed people who catches the stuff in the background. Like, I try to look for stuff like that the first time I watch a movie, but usually I'm watching, trying to get the movie, and I usually go back in the second viewing and get stuff like that. But I did happen to notice that as I was watching the movie yesterday.
I mean, why not? She's the best one in her row.
She is. Well, that's what Bill Murray said. Trying to get her pants.
Well,
and if Bill Murray said it, damn it, then I believe it.
Do you blame him trying to get in 1980s Sigourney Weaver's pants? Do you blame him?
At that point, she already taken out a xenomorph.
she did.
So So I mean, hey, she was already at. She
opened the door and said, "Are you the keymaster?" You fucking say yes.
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 She was already pretty much up there with Sarah Connor at that point. She took out a xenomorph, so I mean that's badass as far as I'm concerned. And she was also at the last Beatles concert. Did you know that?
Really?
Sigourney Weaver was at the last Beatles concert at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. There's a picture of her that you can find online. I think she was like 16 or 17 at the time. There's a picture of it that you can find online at the final Beatles concert in San Francisco.
All right, Google. We're doing it.
Here we go, Google.
Yeah, do your thing.
But yeah, go see it. It's a lot of fun. Not the best movie, but it's not the best Ghostbusters movie, but it works. It fits into the universe pretty well. I want to see better Phoebe next time if we're going to see another movie. To be absolutely honest, and I'll give this question to you guys real quick before we get out of here. Do you think the franchise should stop, or do you think there's room here for a third movie? Go ahead, Jay. Give me your answer real quick.
I would agree with you. One more, but pass the torch. Is what I would say.
I don't know. What do you think, Tin Septum? Is a third movie in this newer trilogy? Is it warranted, or do you think this is where it should stop and we should let Ghostbusters kind of like sit and marinate for another 20 or 30 years before we do like a full reboot?
I think that good things come in threes. I think that ending this part of the saga is necessary because not that this was a cliffhanger by any means, but I think we need to see Phoebe at full potential before we're done here. That's my thought. I think we need to see her at full potential before we're done.
We need 18-year-old Phoebe legally out there kicking Ghost's ass.
Right. That's kind of, I think, what is necessary at this point, because leaving it at teen coming of age is kind of like, okay, but did she make it? Like, what happened? I don't know. That's my interest in it.
DJ's obviously heard me talking about Hollywood. She says, the money behind them won't let that happen.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's true. No, as long as they make money, we're gonna get, get the Fast and the Ghost Furious Part 12 or some shit like that. But look, I would like to see Phoebe evolve into full Egon, like the Egon that we had in the original Ghostbusters. I would like to see her evolve to that point, and then
we're done. Then we're done.
That's stop making Ghostbusters. Wait until all the original cast is dead.
Before you do this.
It's again, like I would love to see another Terminator movie or a reboot. I don't want Arnold anywhere near it. It seems like every time they try to touch that franchise and do something new, they're like, we have to have Arnold. No, we don't. We have to do other things. We have to expand this. You got to stop telling the same story over and over again. But I do one more. Let me see Phoebe reach full Egon potential. Let her hit that level and then stop.
Let her reach maximum power.
No. But Texie says they're beating a dead horse at this point. And look, there's still stuff to do. Look, the next movie, if they go back to Vigo, I'm down for that. Because Vigo was a fun bad guy, I think. You know what else? Oscar, Dana's kid. He's out there somewhere.
We did say that.
That's true.
He's out there somewhere. Who's to say that he can't play a role? That'd be a great way to get Sigourney Weaver back in. You could work her, even if it is just kind of a glorified cameo like we got from William Atherton in this movie. It's like, that's a good way to work her back in and give her a few scenes and have Sigourney Weaver in your movie, because it's not like her name isn't still a big draw. She's still a great actress. But yeah, I mean, go see it, everybody. I think it's a pretty decent movie. I think it's worth the price of admission. Not the best of the Ghostbusters movies by far, but it fits. It fits in really well with where this franchise is at right now. But that's our review. Thanks to all of you for coming to hang out with us tonight. I very much appreciate it. Thanks to my amazing co-host. Thanks to Rachel for filling in. Me and Jeremy could have handled this. She was like, "Do you want me?" And I'm like, "Well, you've always got a standing invite to join any stream you want." I mean, you and Cora are the only people that give any class to this show at all. But what do you got going on, Rachel? Where can the folks at home find you?
Well, actually, yesterday I started a Sims challenge on my Twitch. And I will be putting those videos on my YouTube channel, which is Tin Septum, as you can see over here. That on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Just started a new series. We'll probably be back again on Wednesday, continuing that in the evening. So if you're interested, you can follow me over there on Twitch or Twitter, and I will update you with stuff coming up.
Link to her channel is in the description of all the videos. Go check her out down there. My hetero life mate, Jeremy. Somebody wants me to have you do a few lines from Interstate Love Song. What do you got for me, Jack?
I would start singing, but I don't want to do that to all of you. So
looking like Scott Weiland voice. You have a nice voice.
Looking like Scott Weiland is easy, but singing like him. That's
now hold on. I mean, when every song is like, "Hey girl,"
yeah, that's not the Creed voice.
Yeah,
yeah.
He was way better than Scott Stapp. Come on, let's be honest here.
I know. Yeah, that's a whole different. The Creed accent, I guess, as I call it, is a little overdone.
It's also similar to the Shakira accent if you just pitch it up slightly.
Well, that's just talking like Kermit the Frog. Let's be honest. That's not hard to do. There's about 1 degree of separation between her and Kermit the Frog's voice. So
that's also true.
If she went on Sesame Street, she would break the fucking world. I'm just telling you. Just her and Kermit. Yeah. No. So I'm here Tuesday, Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. Busting all the ghosts and all that crap. I don't do shit. So there's my name. It's that across everything. You figure it out. Thank you, Frank, for we're not going there. I guess I continue to suck at Fortnite. That's the only thing I really do if I do anything. And that's right now, that's only on her stuff. So if we do it, it's on her channel, which is down there. And I'm sure I'm going to hear an earful of it tomorrow, but I am going to shout it out. It is my mom's birthday today. So say nice things.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, BJ. She's our channel mom.
Yay.
Right. And so now that I've done that, now I'm going to yeah, early birthday, whatever. It's today, unless you're in some other time zone. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got. I'm gonna finish my cookie.
You will find me back here on Tuesday. I believe Tuesday we are doing our DCEU retrospective. Now the Aquaman and the Kingdom of whatever the hell it was has come out. The Snyderverse, the DCEU has now been completed. All of the Snyderverse is out there to view. So, and now that we have ended that, and we are now going to begin transitioning into the ECU that is being run by Gunn and Safran. We're gonna take a minute, not do a full review of all the movies. We're gonna talk about the DCEU from Man of Steel all the way up to the most recent and final film, Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom, and we're gonna talk DCEU, where it went wrong, where it went right, kind of the chaos that happens at the executive level of Warner Brothers that really badly impacted the how these movies got made. The casting, all the stuff that impacted the DCU. We're going to break it down. We're going to be here. American Werewolf from New Jersey is going to join us. He's the Snyderverse super fan along with Tech. So they're going to be here to talk all kinds of glowing things about how the Snyderverse should be restored, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to be the objective one who's going to be like, some things were good, some things were bad. We'll talk some numbers, box office, things like that. But we'll be breaking down the DCEU. Yeah, yeah.
I'll be here.
Rachel will be watching.
You just watch the shit show involved. Because I'm gonna try because man, I'm too deep into it too.
You're gonna watch Tex and American Werewolf in New Jersey yell at me whenever I say, "Yeah, but the movies weren't that great." They're gonna be like, "No, they were awesome. They were Shakespeare. They were art. They were fantastic." You see,
we're gonna get run over. I know because I'm just be like, okay, whatever. Just talk about it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to try to be objective about the thing because there were some good things about it. There were some not so good things.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot going on there, and the reality is, a lot of it wasn't on screen or production related. A lot of it was just executives just couldn't get the shit together. They didn't have the creative stuff at the front of their minds. It was really all about the numbers for them, and that's usually where things go wrong. But I mean, we'll talk in greater detail about that with American Werewolf New Jersey next week. Tex says his soapbox is prepared. Yeah. So
hope it's full of soap.
expect Tex and American Werewolf New Jersey to tell me how wrong I am whenever I criticize even the slightest thing about the DCU.
It's like they're not all gems.
They weren't all gems. There was some good stuff in there, but they were not all gems by any stretch of the imagination. But we will be back on Tuesday to go through that. Also later next week, whatever the hell. It's a new Empire is what that's called. Something about Empire again. More Empire-related stuff. We'll be doing that on Thursday, I believe. So we're looking forward to seeing Kong versus Godzilla again. Apparently, they're going to be in a super tag team match with two other monsters. That's going to work out great for the wrestling fans in the community. But we will see you guys then. Until next time, adios. I mean, would one real gruesome murder or maybe some boobs would have helped Tex like this movie a little more? I guess I don't know.
Well, Sydney Sweeney wasn't in this movie, so he doesn't care.
Oh, that's right.
Not, I already told you that's why I didn't like it. There were no blood, tits, and ass, and nobody died violently.
No boobs, no murder.
No.
They were ghosts, but you can see how any of the ghosts died. Yeah. But Poop Blood and Honey Part 2 is out. Go check it out, friends.
Ew.